A lot of you really wanted to see this showcase, and I'm sorry it took so long. We're going to break this unit down, tell you what she's doing, what she's bringing to the table now, and if you should use her or if you shouldn't. And what exactly is TT doing? Well, it's very simple, ladies and gentlemen. This girl is all about break without any of the main breaker stuff you need. She has some stuff in the kit that definitely helps her break, like the break res down on the skill. She also has a huge amount of break value on the true art while also buffing up break power now. She used to not have this break power buff. She has 100% chance to paralyze the enemy, so she's offering some other ways to kind of disable an enemy if you're able to paralyze them. Also has a magic res down too with the art, but like as you see with the equip slots, no physical equips, and that is terrible because the easiest way to break any boss in this game is by utilizing physical break equips. And the reason why I emphasize physical is because all the break equips are for physical. There's like hardly any for magic. There are a few that I will talk about in this video, but we'll get to that when we get to it. She has Water Breaker with the Earth Dream, and then with the Light Dream, she's able to have autofill art gauge passively for the entire team as long as everybody's an Earth unit, and buffing up everybody's max HP by 10%. Me, myself, I went with the Light Dream just because art gauge is always a good option. It's never bad. Also, max HP up. This actually did a lot of work in certain fights, especially in the gameplay you see today. We actually fight Ignis in floor 11. Extra HP really came in clutch there just to have more stats, especially because you're going to be probably utilizing TT alongside a character like Haruto, and of course the more HP your team has when using a unit like Haruto means the more healing he's actually able to do, since it's a percentage based heal. Water Dream isn't bad, it's just I don't know a water boss that needs to be broken. I can't think of one off the top of my head, so there's that. In terms of the equip slots, as I mentioned before, it's all magic slots. And what is best in slot here? Well, of course, Exceed Zex, Ren's outfit, anything that's going to be buffing up art gauge would be really nice, since a lot of her breaking power is coming from her arts. However, there is a magic item that I do want you all to know about that is a breaker magic item, and it is called True Scatter 18. This is actually America's true weapon, and this has 6,000 break on it. Just a true weapon with a huge break value on it, and this is literally like one of the only ones for magic. If you were around during her story chapter, you could have also picked up this 4-star magic that you can use in her 4-star magic slot, and that also is a break equip. Now, as for the crest slots on this character, is extremely simple, just like pretty much every single one of the One Punch Man crossover units. All their crest slots are pretty much, self-explanatory, but TT, break power up, art gauge up. Those are the two that I would highly recommend. There is another break power up crest that you could go on her on top of the regular break power up crest, but I forgot the name of it. I think it's one of the unique crests, if I'm not mistaken. And if you want that just for more percentage based break power up, you could absolutely do it. But yeah, break power up and art gauge up would be my go-tos. Now, one of the biggest struggles about showing off a breaker is trying to find content that you actually need to break. But what I finally decided on doing was just taking her up against the mono floors, against the stages that needed to be broken in order to obtain all the rewards. So the first one that we went up against was Clyde. Now, Clyde, very easy. The main problem here is that War God Finn can kill him extremely easily, which you really don't want that to happen if you're using a team like this, let's say. But TT does a lot of break in this team. And another thing is too is that the Archgen is insanely impactful. You may not notice it like just at first glance, but just having that extra bit of Archgen on the team on top of the already crazy amounts of Archgen you're going to be having from Haruto and War God Finn, or just from Haruto alone if you're only using one Archgener, is so meaningful. It just makes the team a lot faster, it makes DPS a lot more consistent, and yeah, I mean, it's great having that Dream Awakening passive on her. It would be even crazier if we had someone like Evil Eye as well, because that would give us, I think, even more usability. That was one thing that I kind of came to terms with as I was using TT. It was like, man, I really wish I had Evil Eye right now, because the damage res would have been amazing, but not only just that, but being able to buff up TT's damage specifically would have been nice. The man Clyde pretty much got clapped up very quickly. As for the next time we fought, it was floor 9, which is against just the Firebird. It's pretty much the same mechanic. You need to poison the bird to be able to get the most amount of break res down on him, or evasion rate. You break the boss, that's pretty much it. TT, also here, did her thing. She's a breaker, and that's what she's doing. She's breaking bosses. Look at the break value too, by the way, whenever she does actually deal the break damage. it's pretty nice. You know, it's pretty nice once you actually have all the stuff. And another thing too, she actually does a lot of damage on her own. Like, her modifier is not bad whatsoever on her true art. Another thing to mention too is that I didn't actually point it out whenever I was talking about the unit on the unit screen, but TT actually does get more damage during break, exactly 200% more damage during break. Look at the damage numbers here. She's hitting for 1.4 million, and then as you see with the break values, 87,000. Not too shabby. The last thing that we did was, of course, against Ignis. This is actually a pretty challenging fight if you don't know what she does at the halfway point. If you've never done this, let me just give you guys a fair warning, a little bit of a tip here. At half HP, she's going to do her true art. Here's the thing, that true art does no damage. It will do damage though if you use any type of true art or art against it, because it reflects 100% of the damage you deal back at you. So be extremely careful if you are fighting Ignis and you get to that point. Apart from that, the rest of the fight is relatively simple. Just try to heal up as much as you can. As you see, we did actually switch the equips up on TT here. We went more of the Earth Relic route, and we also went Exceeds X because this stage actually does have Hellfire and we don't want TT to die. But TT has to get through a little bit of a thicker break bar here than the other stages. I think this one has around like a 95k break value or something like that on it. Of course, it's not completely accurate because I did actually let the break value build up, especially towards the end here. But as you see, we got to the halfway point. We didn't press any of our stuff because we didn't want anybody to die, and we are good. We just wait for everything to go, and now we can start popping off with everybody and try to get that break with TT ASAP. The damage values on this was pretty impressive from TT. She almost dealt 2 million by herself, which is insane. And not only just that, we also got 95,000, as mentioned before, break value. Now, one of the things people wanted me to do with TT was show her off with another top tier magic breaker, and she's actually coming back on a banner tomorrow, I think, in a few days, something like that, and that's Arstilla Orbis. Arstilla Orbis offers you a lot in terms of like break res down and everything, and people were curious to see how well TT and her went up against each other. And huge shout out to my man Robo Dragon for allowing me to use his Arstilla Orbis for this part of the showcase. We went against Emperor because I couldn't think of any other co-op boss that you would need to break and also be able to survive the onslaught of damage that's going to be happening here. But Arstilla Orbis and TT was a combo that I don't know if I necessarily liked too much. It definitely did a lot. I mean, 80% break res down plus the 100% break power up from TT. Like, the break value's dropping relatively fast. Like, look at this freaking break bar. It's literally getting decimated. But the thing that I thought about here was that Orbis kind of doesn't need to be with TT. I mean, yes, this is another magic breaker and it's nice, but like, you could use Orbis with any other breaker and kind of achieve the same result. So I don't think this is a thing that's just exclusive to TT, but still, it does a lot of stuff. I mean, look at this. I mean, the damage on this break right here is ridiculous. 5+ million? Jesus Christ. Also, that's with like no crit chance too. Oh, another thing is too, we are using Evil Eye, so we're gonna have a massive damage buff with our entire team, which is amazing too. But yeah, this is kind of like the extent of TT's power though. Like, outside of just breaking and dealing crazy amounts of damage during the break phase, she doesn't really do too much else. She doesn't really offer a lot to the team apart from just breaking, and the magic res down is nice, but it's very, very low compared to nowadays standards, and you're better off just using someone else if you need to do damage or you need to reduce magic res or whatever else. If you need a breaker though, and you need specifically a magic breaker, well, she's one of the best ones in the game to use. Not only is this character just a magic breaker, she's able to buff break power for the entire team. Not only just that, she's also a luck unit. But yeah, overall, I mean, TT's just a breaker, and that's kind of the extent of it. Just like how it was all those years ago, she's just a breaker. She doesn't really deal a lot of damage outside of break. You really need to be in that break phase to deal crazy amounts of DPS with her, but she's able to help the team get into that phase very easily and pretty consistently. So yeah, if you ever need a breaker, turn to TT. She's going to be able to do a lot of work for you. Outside of breaking, like I said, you want to avoid her. You probably just don't ever really want to use her. And she'll probably just go on the back burner and just be a character that you pull out here and there to kind of help you when you need it. As for the rest of this fight, though, it was extremely easy. We got through all of it and just kind of killed Emperor like it was nothing and destroyed the man. Now, unfortunately, I actually did not pick the detail screen here. I just wasn't paying attention, so we didn't actually get to see the damage numbers or the break value for that matter. So I apologize for that. Ladies and gentlemen, though, that's going to be it for this video. Tell me down below what you all think about Terrible Tornado. Are you happy with the buffs? Are you kind of wishing that there were a bit more? You guys let me know all your thoughts down below in the comment section. You already heard mine. Would love to hear yours. If we were going to rate this character like on a tier list, or not even a tier list, but like, you know, how good is she in terms of like the whole crossover, I would say that TT is probably number 2. She could be used in sustain teams, and if you need her to like break stuff in like break nuke comps, you'll be able to use her in that. But yeah, I would say she's probably the second best unit from this entire crossover. Thank you all again for coming out. But hey, thank you all again for coming out. Recommend checking out either one of the other showcase video. We just posted the Garo video yesterday. We have the Fubuki video on the channel, and we also have the Saitama video as well, which the Saitama video was absolutely crazy if you haven't seen that yet. Oh, and one more thing before you leave, don't forget to drink water.